Welcome back, YouTubers, to another Good and Bad of the Week audio with us, the British Fist.
Ka-ching.
Ka-ching indeed. I am Mr. Parkin, and this guy sitting next to me is the one and only NJ.
What's up?
And of course, make sure you guys subscribe up above, like this video, and comment your thoughts on this week in wrestling, whether it be Raw, TNA, or SmackDown, in that comment section below.
Make sure you contact us in the links in the description box below.
Yes, and also any comments you have on any news stories or anything that's happened throughout the week which you find of interest, also let us know in that comment section below your feelings on those such things. But in this video, me and NJ will be giving our overall thoughts on what we thought was good and bad of Raw, good and bad of TNA Impact Wrestling, and good and bad of SmackDown, especially with TLC and Final Resolution needing the hype. You got any last words before we enter this, NJ?
Maybe they haven't done as good as they could have done.
No, I think so too. Let's get straight onto Raw. So on Raw this week, we opened up with none other than Roddy Piper in Piper's Pit with his guest host John Cena, and in this we pretty much got the whole Roddy Piper talking about how there's crowd reaction and energy, and talking about how the fans haven't been very pleased with Cena throughout his career, and talking about Cena losing it and being real, trying to bring out this real character in Cena. And I kind of like how they went around this, even though it didn't hype for the pay-per-view. I kind of like how they tried to at least try and bring out this whole character thing, which has been going down with issue, which is a big issue in the YWC, which has a lot of people have with Cena, including yourself.
Well, they had Mick Foley try and put Cena over. Then they had Piper do it. And to be honest, again, both segments I didn't really enjoy that much, even though Piper slapping him was a highlight of that.
He slaps Cena and Cena walks off, and this is exactly why we don't like his character. And I honestly thought this was a good segment, in my opinion. I know you have different opinions to me here, but I like how they addressed the whole Cena character thing, although it's not really leading anywhere, and we know he's not going to turn heel. We know Vincent Kennedy McMahon isn't going to turn his top babyface heel, but at least it's trying to set some sort of precedence, in my opinion. And I do like Piper's Pits, and I do think they achieve what they're generally supposed to achieve.
Because Piper did make some points after Rock bottom him, and then that slap. It would really piss him off, but it just didn't happen. So it's kind of disappointing. At the same time, we all know Cena's not going to turn heel, like you said.
Exactly. There are a lot of people out there saying that Cena could turn heel, but it just won't happen, will it? They're not going to do it. They're too afraid.
They are indeed.
And who do they have to replace that top babyface, apart from CM Punk, on Raw? No one, really, apart from maybe R-Truth, if they're going to do that and appeal to the little Jimmies.
They're very much true.
Next segment we got was, well, Morrison's last match for WWE, wasn't it? Well, we don't know that for sure, but last match on his current contract. We got Morrison coming out, and all of a sudden we get Miz attacking him in what was essentially a Falls Count Anywhere match.
With this match, again, it was interesting because after the attack, Morrison did continue to try and make the match actually go ahead, but obviously it was going to come down to Miz winning anyway.
Yep. You know, this whole match, it went about 5 minutes. It was basically about Miz getting on some sort of mean streak and injuring people that have held him back. He's done it with R-Truth, and now he's doing it with John Morrison. Was this the best send-off for John Morrison? Of course it wasn't. But, you know, at the same time, they might as well use him in this sense if they're just going to make him job out all the time. I thought this segment was rather effective. It's really made me believe Miz can be this sort of mean streak heel guy, even though it's only been like 2 weeks of it, and the booking of him hasn't been great when he was with Awesome Truth.
True, but now he's on his own. He does need some kind of direction of where he's going to go next. And if this is the way he's going, then I say go for it.
And that is the main question of this segment. You know, it was a good segment for me, but he did say who's he going to go after next. It really does make us want to tune in next week, and that he's trying to make a statement. But the point is, who is he going to go after next? And 2 weeks into the pay-per-view hype, we really kind of want to know these things, don't we?
Well, the answer would be Cena for a part-time feud until he goes on to something else.
It would make sense, as they've both got not much to do. So
true, yeah.
Diva segment.
Okay.
Bella Twins versus Kelly and Alicia. Divas of Doom come out jogging. Why?
The thing is, they came out. I was really expecting them to screw the faces and have the heels winning. But no, it didn't happen. So it's kind of just a disappointing, boring segment.
Yeah, Alicia Fox got the pin, and, you know, she'll probably challenge Beth Phoenix at the pay-per-view. Maybe announce a match between these two. I don't know. The British Fist Tea Time guys seem to like it, but...
They did, indeed.
Oh, but they always like Diva segments, NJ. That's the problem. It was a shit segment. It really was.
No, I'm glad we didn't have to speak about it.
Yeah, definitely. They're holding off the Brodus Clay debut still, aren't they? John Laurinaitis announces that he wants to make him angrier by keeping him off TV. I'll get my words straight. And I'm thinking... oh, okay, I kind of just want to see this guy now. We've had so many weeks of building, it's getting to the point now where I just want to fucking see it, and you know what I mean?
Keeping him off will make him angry, but at the same time, his video packages have shown his anger, shown his fury, so I say bring him in, do what he needs to do, because there's a big chance he can come back and do absolutely nothing. Then all this build has been led to nothing. It's disappointing.
I still think they should have done him at Survivor Series in that Final 5, but that's just my opinion. We also get the announcement that if Punk gets disqualified in the match, that he'll lose the title, as you know, as exclaimed by none other than the table wooden guy himself, David Otunga.
Interesting idea, but we'll get to that in the main event.
Yes, as our main event. Now, I found this very interesting. We had Randy Orton versus Dolph Ziggler, and what I thought was probably one of the best segments of the night. We had Wade Barrett on commentary. Now, usually when we get Orton versus Ziggler, we think to ourselves, oh, Randy Orton's got this one in the bag, and he's always beaten a guy like Dolph Ziggler. We had Ziggler changing his theme. He's doing this whole showing off vignette now. They're kind of trying to work on that. But the main thing is, after a 12-minute match, Ziggler got the victory after a Barrett interference.
Well, I do look at the match itself, and I was interested by it because Ziggler was booked quite good in this match, obviously, because that's going to help him get into the main event. The Barrett there was good because it continued the rivalry with Orton.
Good commentary.
Very true. And I'm thinking now, we've got Ziggler looking good against a main eventer again. We have Barrett and Orton continue their feud. I'll say that was a good segment.
Indeed, it was a good segment in that you showcased your US champion, and you've also continued the storyline between Orton and Barrett as well, and you've also given Ziggler that defining victory, which really could help him if he's going to develop into a main event guy. A victory over a massive star like Randy Orton.
Well, he does need that, yes.
He definitely does. And overall, I thought this is a very good hour main event. I really enjoyed this hour main event. Good wrestling match, good storytelling. Good
two people to be in the our main event, so I liked it, yeah.
We next had a promo segment involving Michael Cole and Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan got a very little reaction. We're kind of used to that now on live shows. They edited out his entrance as well, which I found interesting. But at least they gave him some mic time. Although Cole dominated the mic, he's the biggest heel, and you want a guy like him to get a babyface like him over. They did it with Alex Riley as well, which I feel worked. I did enjoy this segment just because of the fact that they gave Daniel Bryan some promo time. They hyped SmackDown, and it was good. I thought it was good. I did like Daniel Bryan's promo work in there. A little of it though.
Well, going in the ring with Michael Cole definitely brings up the best out of Daniel Bryan, because they both have this hatred about each other for a while now. And I think it was good to have Daniel Bryan stepping up to his game, saying what's going to happen, say that he's going to be the champ, cashing in and all that. So I think it was an okay segment.
It's nice to see them hyping for that live SmackDown as well, wasn't it? It got a lot of hype. A bit more than the pay-per-view, though, I might add.
Quite disappointing, yes.
Then we get Henry coming out limping and pimping, saying that Daniel Bryan is not going to be able to beat him. And we get Daniel Bryan coming up to ramp and kicking him in the ankle and leaving.
Pot-shotting. Very effective. That was very effective, Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, but a good Henry sighting. Again, it helps hype for their match, the steel cage match. That was good. Any more thoughts?
No, that's it.
Jack Swagger versus Zack Ryder. Was this or was this not just filler? Zack Ryder. I mean, Jack Swagger is becoming a big glorified jobber, former World Heavyweight Champion, but at least, you know, Zack Ryder gets the victory, and we kind of realise he's going to get this US title shot with his partition.
Well, Ryder does need the win, so if he's having a win over someone that is, again, a partner with the US champ, it does make sense. So I'll say it was a good win for Ryder. 3.5 minutes. It was filler, but it was kind of, I guess, there to take time and give Zack Ryder another victory so he could believably get a US title shot. That's it, yeah.
I imagine. In the next segment, we got Mick Foley dressed as Santa Claus. Ho, ho, ho. He does make a good Santa Claus. He's the right body for it, isn't he?
Oh, he did. Joy old Saint Mick.
Yeah, he hypes up the live SmackDown. At least they gave this SmackDown some hype. It was especially the fact that it was live. More hype than they would usually ever give a whole month's worth of SmackDowns.
That's true. And with SmackDown, it was already a show that we're looking forward to because we were told what the main event was and all that.
Yep.
But having Mick there, as he's going to be a part of SmackDown, it does give you a bit more of a feeling towards it.
And he was a special guest host as well. I thought this segment was okay. I don't really like the fact that they didn't feature Cody Rhodes and Sheamus. I guess they wanted to save him for SmackDown. But I really feel they could have featured Rhodes or Sheamus, maybe like in that Jack Swagger Zack Ryder match, in a tag match. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of ways to get these guys on the card, as they really do deserve a place on TV every week, especially if it's a super show.
They would, but at the same time, I guess, as SmackDown's the live show, the more important show because of how it's built up, having Rhodes and Sheamus on that did better, I thought.
Indeed. Main event of the evening. This was announced last week, which at least gave us something to look forward to in this show. Even though I felt this should have been this rematch should have been done at TLC. We had CM Punk versus Alberto Del Rio in a WWE Championship match. And, like I said, I don't know what the WWE's plans are, who they're going to be putting in that main event picture. Maybe it's still going to be Del Rio, but should this not have been safe for a pay-per-view?
Well, as it's close to the pay-per-view, it would make sense having this match at the pay-per-view and on free TV, because to be honest, they haven't got enough time to hype up another wrestler to face CM Punk in a short amount of time. So, kind of disappointing they're having this now.
In this match, this match got very good time. Again, it's not as good as Survivor Series, but that's going to be hard to top a pay-per-view match. But it was a good TV match. We had Del Rio trying to get CM Punk disqualified. So he could get the title, and then Punk did the whole live cheat and steal Eddie Guerrero gimmick as well. I thought that was hilarious.
Well, it was going to be a tricky way of Del Rio getting the championship without even having to pin Punk. But again, the right person won this, even though Del Rio's title reign's been pointless recently.
The two Del Rio title reigns have been really pointless, haven't they? That is the thing. We get the GCS into the exposed turnbuckle. I'm thinking, is that not a DQ? But I guess the right guy won. I'm not sure if I like the fact that he won clean, especially if they're going to do a pay-per-view match between these two, which I feel they might do. But hey, who the hell knows what they're going to do? They might introduce Miz into that title scene. Who knows? But overall, I thought a good main event. I wasn't too sure on the finish, but I thought the match itself was very good, so I'll give it props there. So I thought a good end to the show. I just wish that this show would have hyped more to the pay-per-view, because we got no matches announced. Very little pay-per-view hype from this show. Not even a passing mention of the pay-per-view, and the fucking theme song gets mentioned before any matches.
That's very true. With it being the second week now, you do expect there to be pay-per-view build, but we didn't get any.
Exactly. So I guess next, as SmackDown was on the Tuesday, we should really do that one next if we're going to do it in chronological order, shouldn't we? Leave TNA for the last.
We will indeed.
Yes, let's go. Right, so this week we got the live SmackDown, and with the main event being announced and everything, and it being a live SmackDown, I expected a lot coming from this show, and I really expected it to sort of do something for the Tape Friday SmackDowns. But after we saw that, it got a rating of 2, which is about the same as the Tape Friday edition would get. So for me, this show failed.
It did, and there's more that happened in this that was not needed, didn't lead anywhere, really pointless, and nothing for the pay-per-view.
Really, really disappointing for a live SmackDown, I'll say that now. We open up with Mick Foley dressed up as Santa. He didn't really change his clothes from the Raw, did he?
No, the big question is, Christmas in November.
Yeah.
Okay, WWE.
This is one of the reasons why the show fell flat for me. Christmas in November, I'm sorry, but even for a guy like me, I just can't get involved in it too much in November. He came out and hyped up to tonight's matches, the main event especially. He didn't announce what the matches were, but he announced the 34th Street fight and a Divas Battle Royal and a Divas match of some kind. I was like, well, could you not announce what the matches are? Just saying, it would have maybe helped this segment a little bit go along.
It would have indeed.
We get Cole dressed up as Rudolph, Santa as Booker T as Santa, and Booker T does a spinneroonie. God damn.
The real time is entertained by having all them dress up, but to be honest, seeing them dressed up at the wrong time of year, it keeps going back to them doing all this too early.
Yeah, but then we get Cody Rhodes coming out, and this, to me, kind of saved the segment. I know you could say I'm a Cody Rhodes mark, but to me, Cody Rhodes coming out, at least he is an active wrestler. He got some heel heat, and they actually did something with regards to him talking about Booker T and their feud, and the Booker T Cody Rhodes match was made for tonight, even though we didn't get it. At least it was a match made. I did think Cody Rhodes coming out kind of saved this segment. I don't know about your thoughts on this.
Well, as I'm not really a fan of them using the Christmas special now, Cody Rhodes coming out to put an end to the beginning start was good.
Yeah, is that what you got to say?
That was it, yeah.
All right then. We next, after that, have a Divas Mistletoe on a Pole match. Brie Bella wins and gets an opportunity to kiss any superstar between now and Christmas. What the fuck was the point? That is the question. It lasted 1 minute. Who gives a fucking shit?
Because to be honest, this should have been #1 contenders. This could have. The way it was all done, the amount of divas there were, it could have been #1 contender. So it's really pointless that it was just to kiss any wrestler. They could do it without having a competition. So it's stupid.
It was a stupid segment. Let's just move on. Justin Gabriel versus Jinder Mahal. This segment was done to pretty much forward the Jinder Mahal Ted DiBiase storyline, wasn't it? I mean, you have the match there. Jinder Mahal is cutting a promo about questioning Christmas and how the Americans are like materialistic people and all that kind of stuff. It was good heel. It was a good heel promo. I thought he did. I like that about Jinder Mahal.
It was got it because obviously he's anti-Christmas. It looked like. So I think, to be honest, him coming out and introducing this whole Ted thing was interesting. I thought.
Yeah, during the match we have DiBiase all baby faced up, dressed up as Santa, giving gifts to his DiBiase posse, and the discussion by Ted gives Justin Gabriel the victory. He continues their feud on, okay, I guess. Justin Gabriel gets a win, which he freaking needs at the moment. He's doing nothing on SmackDown. Yeah,
Ted does need to win if he's going to be a possible challenger for Cody Rhodes' IC title if they're going to go down that route. But the match itself, again, well done, Justin. That's it.
Yeah, it wasn't a very good match, but I guess the whole point of it was to forward the storyline. Should we even talk about the backstage Christmas segment? Apart from the appearance of the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, baby, and God Dust.
That was interesting.
Exactly.
See, yeah.
The video package of Kane resurrected.
Good. If something's coming up soon, then go ahead, keep showing them. They're good.
Especially with the mask, could really invigorate a new bit of life into his character, couldn't it?
Could indeed.
Rhodes then attacks Booker T in a backstage interview segment. I really enjoyed this, not just because I'm a Rhodes mark, but because it allows the storyline some continuance, and if it allows it to happen at a pay-per-view, I do think if the match happened tonight, it would have been a little bit too early for me.
Well, the way I look at Booker T and Rhodes, having backstage attacks is interesting, so it adds on to their feud or rivalry, whatever they're having going on, and it pushes it to a later date, which I like.
It gets Cody Rhodes more heel heat as well, which is all good. Kofi Kingston versus Tyson Kidd in what seemed like another filler match. I guess they're trying to do this to keep Kofi Kingston on TV and keep him getting wins until Evan Bourne comes back and they can defend their tag team championships.
Well, I found this to be an entertainment match, not a proper feud going anywhere or anything like that. It was just entertainment because the way Cody, Kingston put on the head thing and was all silly.
It was very silly. You get the whole flying reindeer thing. I don't like the fact that this essentially is just filler and it's not continuing any storyline or anything. This was a theme throughout the show, in my opinion. Kofi Kingston takes the Rudolph hat and beats Tyson Kidd. Do I think they could be using Tyson Kidd a little bit better? Probably yes, but I guess it gets Kofi Kingston the win. I didn't really like this segment too much, to be honest with you.
Same here, no.
Our main event. Randy Orton versus David Otunga in a 34th Street fight. They're going really overboard on this Christmas shit when they do a 34th Street fight.
It was quite silly because, to be honest, Otunga wrestling again, we don't really want to see that. He didn't do good with Mike McKellarcutty, so having him against Orton, it was just stupid. Yeah,
I mean, having Otunga in the wrestling ring full stop, I mean, even having him on TV is just ridiculous. The guy is so... Oh, God, I hate his character. One thing I will say about this, even though I don't like Otunga being in a match, I guess I got a real laugh out of Otunga getting his ass kicked, even though they did use the whole Christmas thing again too much with him throwing into Christmas trees, and it was entertaining for what it was, I guess, but it's just like, and I guess it did continue the Barrett Orton storyline somewhat. It just didn't feel like the best of constructive segments to me.
No, it was a street fight. Barrett didn't have to leave as quick as he did. He could have made more impact in the match, maybe have screwed Orton. It would have been embarrassing, but they weren't going to do that to Orton, so Orton picks up the win.
I actually personally think that Orton should have won that, because if Otunga won it, I would have been like, oh my God, even for Orton. So I guess it was an effective segment, maybe. I don't know, it's really hard for me to put my thoughts on this. I didn't like the whole Otunga thing, but I guess it forwarded the Orton-Barrett storyline, which is the only real feud we have going into TLC, really, isn't it?
It looks it, yes, it is.
A nice interview segment with Mark Henry, threatening Teddy Long, being a fucking heel, not this guy who's being pulled back by, everything, and saying he's going to turn Daniel Bryan's dream into a nightmare. I enjoyed this interview segment.
Well, Henry, as we've seen now, is good at these interviews, backstage, on mic stuff. So the more we get of him as the champion, the better. Yeah,
and we got footage of the Bryan cash-in as well, which helped hype up the story of this main event and the number one contendership as well. So I'll give WWE that. We then had probably what, in my opinion, would be one of the most pointless battle royals since WrestleMania Dark Match. And Daniel Bryan and Sheamus were both involved in that. That 20-man jobber battle royal. What was the point? With the winner getting a wish, a Christmas wish? This was just... Wow, what the fuck was going on here, NJ? Seriously.
I don't know, I found it kind of horrible. To be honest, the way it went down, we had Sheamus and loads of jobbers, Zeke's return, but to be honest, I would have really had Sheamus win in the stupid ending, got his wish, maybe asked for a World Heavyweight Championship match. That would have led somewhere important. Yeah. But this just was pointless.
We had a break after 1 minute, and the problem is the whole thing revolved around fucking Hornswoggle. Hornswoggle eliminated Sheamus, and I'm like, my God. Number one, what's the point in this segment if you're going to revolve it around Hornswoggle? And number two, you're making one of your biggest babyfaces on SmackDown look like a fucking chump. And that pisses me off, that does. Especially when they don't need to use a guy like Hornswoggle. They really don't. And they do. And this is just another reason why this Christmas edition was a fucking shit edition.
I really didn't like the idea, but like I said, I would have done this differently. Because, to be honest, this and the Divas match were interesting matches, but they didn't lead anywhere that led to a pay-per-view or future idea. So,
yeah.
I like it.
By the way, Hornswoggle can talk like everyone.
Interesting.
Great. Main event time. This is what we were looking forward to most, wasn't it? After what happened last week. We was genuinely looking forward to this because we thought something interesting could happen here with it being a live SmackDown. We got Daniel Bryan getting a pre-match kiss from AJ. Oh, so jealous. A very good interview segment with Daniel Bryan, though. You know, again, it's just hyping up to the main event. I enjoy these interview segments.
Well, we've had Mark Henry have one, so giving Daniel Bryan one, warming up ready for the match was good and needed.
So, Daniel Bryan versus Mark Henry in a steel cage match for the World Heavyweight Championship. Daniel Bryan didn't get any reaction at all, really, did he, from the live crowd?
No, it was kind of obvious because obviously he's not been built up to a way for the crowd to get behind him. He's been losing. He's been just suddenly getting involved, so it was obvious.
And we had an advert 1 minute into the match, which did not help the flow of the match. So they didn't really give this enough time, in my opinion. I only got 11 minutes, but there was so much. It seemed like the writing of this show really didn't favour the time that the main event would get, which is probably the most interesting part of the show. We get Henry dominating, Bryan going after the ankle. I did like the storytelling in this match. The crowd eventually got into it because of the storytelling. But at the end of the day, I think this could have been a little bit more interesting if they'd done other things. But also, I like the fact that Mark Henry won, as at least it sets up a plausible match, feud-ending match at TLC between him and Big Show.
Because the way it looked, it was a good fight from Bryan throughout the match, but Mark Henry doing the World Strong Slam from the top rope was a good way to finish the match, I thought.
It was. But the question is, though, you've got Daniel Bryan getting defeated by an injured Henry. That doesn't exactly make him look great, does it? But I guess WWE have done a great job of that already, not booking him very well.
That's true. And the thing is, when we went into this match, we thought with a briefcase, with Big Show there, and with this championship match, we were going to get a new champion, but we didn't get that, so it's kind of a surprise there for us.
Yeah, we thought they might just get the money about cashing out the way now, really.
That was true, yeah.
Oh well. But again, the big question of this show was, where was the pay-per-view hype? And again, it just seemed like another rewritten last-minute Raw, didn't it? And the segments had little points to them. It really seemed like Vince McMahon had a lot of input into this. Real lack of long-term vision for WWE in these two shows. Just saying.
When I look at this, a live SmackDown, they could have done absolutely anything, wonderful things for the pay-per-view, and they did absolutely nothing.
Especially for a live SmackDown, when you're trying to draw in audiences to your, essentially what they like to call a B show.
That's very true, yeah.
I guess, well, now it's time to move on to TNA, I guess.
Yeah, let's.
Okay, so before we start this little snippet into TNA Impact Wrestling, I just want to say, you know, for what I thought was a good show, I think it was let down a lot by the backstage segments, and I just really think we should raise this first. We got 2 whole TV segments worth of backstage segments, and a lot of the backstage segments really didn't have too much point to them, and it really ruined the flow of the show. Everything in between the backstage segments I thought was very good, but the backstage segments really didn't help the flow of the show, and I did not like the amount of backstage segments there were in this edition.
And most backstage segments didn't do anything for the future, it just did something for the actual show. And to be honest, it didn't give me a positive feeling of the future of TNA going to their pay-per-view.
Yeah, I mean, we open up, should we move on with the segment?
Yeah,
we'll go segment by segment then. Big rant about the backstage segments, especially with that Knockouts one. Just stop it with that. We open up with Sting talking about how things have been out of hand ever since this attack on Dixie Carter that Bobby Roode done. And he calls out Bobby Roode and says there's going to be consequences. It's logical, I guess a logical opener.
Well, it was interesting because obviously with Sting now using his management role on TV was good. He's using it well. He's going against Roode, and obviously, I guess it makes sense what it's going to lead to, yes.
Yeah, we get AJ Styles and Jeff Hardy coming out, talking about, you know, how they're respecting authority. And this whole thing, it set up a main event between Bobby Roode, Jeff Hardy, and AJ Styles, while also establishing Roode's heel character a lot more. And I like the fact that they're at least giving a lot of concentration to this heel character, because they didn't work up to it very well with the whole free TV match beer bottle thing. So at least they're putting some emphasis now on his heel character and trying to really promote him as a top heel for TNA.
I think they need to start working on that, because obviously if he goes up against James Storm later on, we do need to determine who's the stronger heel and who's the stronger face.
Definitely. So our main event was made. I thought the segment was good, personally.
Same way, I liked it for a good amount of time.
After some backstage segments, we get a #1 contendership for the tag titles. We get Inc. versus Mexican America, who have been involved in the title picture before, versus the put-together team of Devon and Pope. It's nice we got a #1 contendership match, though, wasn't it?
It was, but having Devon and Pope team up again, after the things we've said about them in our past reviews, it just weren't the good idea. But the rest of them, I guess they worked out as a good tag team.
At least Pope now is back as a babyface. We have 3 tag teams contending, which I guess is more than we could say for maybe WWE. I don't know many tag teams. The problem is now 2 of those tag teams are real doubtful futures in TNA, and that is a problem with the tag team division is really dwindling at the moment. Pope and Devon win. I can kind of understand why they've done it, but I'd love to have seen a British invasion or a proper tag team win. But at least I guess it's getting Pope featured on TV now, which I think is good. I think they need to feature Pope. I think he's a guy who could do a lot for TNA, and they really dropped the ball with him over this last year.
Yeah, that's true. I think, to be honest, they got to start working on the tag team just so they get interesting again.
Yeah, so we've got a pay-per-view match pretty much done now. I just wonder how they're going to build a feud now between the two face put together tag teams. That's just my only question. I look forward to a segment next week where they kind of try and build something, I guess.
Yeah, I question that too now.
Austin Aries and Kid Cash in a promo segment. We have Austin Aries coming out. We always love Austin Aries on the mic, don't we?
We do, indeed.
Talking about bringing prestige to the X Division. He's in his own league. And then out comes the veteran, the heel veteran Kid Cash.
Interesting, because obviously if they're going to go down this route, we've got 2 heels at the minute. So to be honest, I'm thinking they could turn down a pathway to make Austin Aries maybe a face, even though he's a great heel.
He is. The thing is, being a heel, he can really, make the faces look good. And this is why I like Austin Aries as a heel. He can cut a great promo as well. He's probably the only real great heel we have in the X Division, because X Division is really void of heels in my opinion. Kid Cash goes on, he's talking about Austin Aries' cheap win at Turning Point and walking out on this tag team match. So I guess this whole thing between them two has been built to some degree. They were going to probably have a match after all the tension they've had between those two. So I thought it was a good segment. Austin Aries gave Kid Cash a title shot, a final resolution. Match made for the pay-per-view. Feud's kind of, really sort of starting now. So
the thing is, it was a quick segment. It got to the point. We got a match made, so it's effective, I thought.
And we wondered, are they going to make Austin Aries face?
That is the question.
That is the big question. The crowd do want to cheer him. Maybe get it done. We don't know. In our main event, skipping all the backstage segments, of course, we have Mickie James versus ODB in a street fight. Interesting, this is our main event, but I still don't see why this had to be a street fight.
No, I look at this and I'm thinking, again, ODB does do well in street fights because she's that kind of character. But going against Mickie James, just for a more contendership for the championship and to hurt Mickie James, it was interesting. I give it that.
I mean, it was announced earlier on in the night by Karen Jarrett these two would face off, and if ODB won and hurt Mickie James, she would get a number one contendership. It's funny now that ODB is making random appearances. I kind of like her in this street fight spot. I do think she gives the knockouts another dimension that way. The match went backstage. Weapons were used. The crowd are well behind Mickie James. And Mickie James wins the match with a kick to the chair to the face of ODB. It's making your challenger look strong.
It got him ready because a street fight is a fight that you expect to go well, be effective, and it was just nicely done.
I thought this was a very good segment. Good match. Good hype for the pay-per-view, I guess, as well. Next, we have an interview with James Storm. Now, we have the commentators coming out talking about his condition, and we have James Storm talking about how he's not sure when he's going to be returning. And I just want to say this out loud now. I thought this was the segment of the night. I really loved how they did this segment, especially when they brought Angle in there as well.
Well, having James Storm have his say, then Angle come and have their say, and then go back and forward talking about it, it definitely got their feud a good kickstart, I thought.
Yeah, and they're kind of planting the seeds now for this Angle Storm pay-per-view match, and we're going to get an announcement or a segment with them next week, which I am really looking forward to. But I did enjoy the back and forth between Angle and James Storm, and it is really helping James Storm's character a lot before he eventually gets that match with Bobby Roode for the title at some point, maybe at Lockdown or Slammiversary.
Well, it's like we've said. At the beginning of the night, Roode's character was built up nicely as a strong heel. Now we're getting James Storm as a strong face. I'm liking this. It's a good way they're doing the booking for these two wrestlers.
And they further developed Roode's character with this video package, didn't they? They got Roode's family talking about their reactions to him turning heel, how he's cheating to win, and how they're disappointed in him. And he's talking about how he doesn't care about his family. He's earning more money. It really does make him look like for lack of a better word, like a bastard, isn't it? And it's really developing his heel character.
And I think no one better than Roode's family to have their say is helping Roode's character. They can say whatever they want about him, and it's only giving Roode more of a push. So I thought it was really effective for him.
I mean, they did this with his BFG series build, didn't they? And that really worked. And I think this is also working as well. I mean, it might just be a one-time thing, but they've done really good things there with James Storm and Robert Roode. And I'm really liking that.
Same here, I like it.
Yeah. TV title match next. Rob Van Dam versus Robbie E. Okay. This was a bit of a clusterfuck, wasn't it? We had the match. Right, the match itself wasn't bad, even though Rob Van Dam pretty much carried it. But at the time, I was thinking, why the fuck is Robbie E the TV champion when Rob Van Dam and Christopher Daniels could be a great TV title feud, and it could add a lot more to it?
Well, the way it goes, again, I don't know why Robert E, because he didn't get much crowd reaction. He doesn't get much importance in the match. It really was awful.
We had Eric Young coming out acting like an idiot, distracting the referee. Also, Christopher Daniels can come in and put the Angel wins to RVD. And Robbie E pins RVD. I'm like, wow, really? Are you fucking kidding me? Robbie E pins RVD. What a clusterfuck of a segment.
It was. It wasn't really effective. It didn't lead anywhere. Again, yes, it was an important match for the TNA TV title, but it just didn't do as much justice as it could have done for either one of the two wrestlers.
I guess one thing it does do, it continues the RVD Daniel storyline, but I think the TV title at the moment is in the wrong place, and I really think TNA need to improve that. I really think TNA needs to make that into an established mid-card belt. Just saying. Main event time then. We got this announced earlier on in the night. Triple threat, AJ Styles versus Rude versus Hardy. A lot of star power in that main event, wasn't there?
It would, and obviously they need. I like what TNA do with their main eventers. They use them well, book them as we've seen recently. Book them good too.
Yeah, the match itself got good time. We didn't know because it had an advert how much time it went on for, but we had nice storytelling with Rude trying to stay away from AJ, be a smart champion. AJ and Hardy worked together for a little bit of time, but eventually when they all started wrestling each other, and you had Rude, chucking them out and working on them each at the same time. The match did get a lot better, and then it continued to tell a decent story, in my opinion.
It did. I quite like this match. It got a good time, and obviously the rest is all working well against each other. Yeah, I just thought it was interesting. I liked it.
Right, so then we get Jeff Jarrett interfering, allowing Bobby Roode to get a somewhat weak victory on Jeff Hardy. Now, I admit they had the right guy pin the right guy, but I do not like for 1 second. There's a couple of things I don't like here, and I said this in the review. Jarrett being featured in the main event. Why? I know Jeff Hardy's there, but this goes to show that Jeff Jarrett is even more of a twat than he really is, that he's featuring himself with Jeff Hardy, and he's in the main event. He's 6 years fucking too late for a main event.
To be honest, Jeff Jarrett getting there, it's adding more to their rivalry, and it's getting you wanting Jeff to beat him more and more, but again, it just really wasn't needed for this main event here.
We had Sting coming out and giving us the consequences that he announced earlier in the night with Jarrett, telling us that it's going to be a cage match of the pay-per-view between Jeff Jarrett and Jeff Hardy. If Hardy wins, he's the #1 contender at Genesis. If Jarrett wins, Hardy is out the company. And I just have this question to ask. How the fuck is this match a consequence to Jarrett interfering? Just saying. Karen's banned from ringside, but how is it a consequence?
Well, I guess as he hates Jeff Hardy so much, he wants him to be gone no matter what, and this is his match of doing so.
Is it too early for Hardy to be involved in the title scene? Because I really think it's too early to get him involved.
Well, if you think of what Rude and Storm are doing and what Angle's doing, and AJ, they're all adding up to Jeff has no room to fit into this, so yes.
I do not agree with Jarrett and Hardy feud being featured as the last thing on TV. It should be the main event, but you know what? We'll go into that in our overviews. I thought it was a good segment overall. I just don't like the whole Jeff Jarrett thing being featured in the main event and all that kind of bullshit. And I'm not a big fan of the stipulation, but at least it should end their feud, which is what we want to see.
It is indeed.
Right then. So I guess after that, well, usually we've gone to SmackDown, but I guess we'll go on to our overall thoughts, shall we?
Overall thoughts.
So NJ, usual format. I'm going to ask you the question in order. Which shows for you were the best and second best and third best show?
Well, we'll go backwards. We have SmackDown's third. TNA and Raw. I think Raw was a kind of good show.
Okay, why do you think Raw?
It's just that obviously it had the rest that I wanted to see in. It had, even though there was the whole delay of Brody's Clay, Morrison going, Punk having his match in the wrong place, but they had good entertaining matches, I thought.
For me, SmackDown was definitely the worst show. TNA. I thought TNA, if they didn't have those backstage segments, I think TNA would have been probably the best show of the week, as it did hype up to the pay-per-view very well, and I thought the segments they did were very effective. At the same time, I did think that Raw was more entertaining and had a lot more to it, which I could enjoy. That was the thing, but it didn't hype up to the pay-per-view. So I'm really not sure whether TNA or Raw. I'm indecisive here. Raw or TNA was probably the better show of the week. I don't really know. They both did different things which I enjoyed, and that's why I'm having a real difficult time choosing between them two. Both decent shows. As
much as they were decent shows, what Raw is what I need to do now is this next week and the week after is get their hype up for the pay-per-view, because they really lacked it in this week.
That's what both shows lacked this week, wasn't it? And that's what I think TNA did well, hype to their pay-per-view. So that's probably one thing TNA had over WWE this week, in my opinion. But overall, SmackDown was crap. Decent week, I guess. TNA and Raw, in my opinion, did kind of bring it up slightly.
It did indeed. It's just that obviously the shows gave us entertainment, but not enough for their pay-per-view.
Any other thoughts before we leave this Good and Bad of the Week podcast?
That's it.
All right then, let's leave it there then. You've heard our thoughts on this week in wrestling. If you're still listening, which I guess you guys are, or maybe you guys aren't, get your comments on anything that's happened this week in Raw, TNA, SmackDown, or any wrestling news down in that comment section below. And NJ, do what you do best.
Thank you very much for listening to our podcast. This has been a okay week, not the best. And all I can say now, from the British Fist, Mr. Parkin, and me, NJ, is goodbye and thank you.